This is Capsule on liveinlimbo.com. My name is Sean Chin.
And I am Andreas Babilakis. This is an adventure into film, pop culture, and today, especially music.
Okay, I thought you were going to mess it up there, so thank God.
No, I planned that.
Yeah, you know I'm picky about that. How have you been, man? You haven't been on for a little while. Well, like one episode.
Well, I've been really busy with a lot of things. You know, I've got a lot of things happening in life. I've got a new job. I've got a lot of weddings that I'm a part of and attending. I guess everyone wants to get married at this time of year. And I've been working very hard on my end of the year lists, which I believe we're talking about right now.
So we have two lists from you, two great lists.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Oh, so just before that. So even though I did miss you last week, your DNA was still present somehow in the form of your sister.
Yes, she was on, great. And yeah, she did a very good job. And yeah, it's pretty cool that not only was she on, but she did a good job. So
yeah, Marianne's great. Like I've been a friend with her since high school. Like I knew her before you.
Yep, this is true.
And she introduced you to me, and then that's history now.
Yep, well, in the form of a podcast capsule, so.
You know what's cool about this episode?
What's that?
This is episode 52.
So we've made it
one episode for every week of all of 2014. That's pretty amazing. I think that was our goal.
Yep, and we made it before the year's even over, so.
Congrats.
Yep, congratulations to you as well.
Oh my God, so much has gone on. And if you want to hear more about like our whole philosophy of this podcast, go back to episode 50, where it's a reflection episode.
Right, absolutely.
All right, so now that you made two great lists, which one do you want to talk about first?
Well, I guess we should go in order, because the way that I've ordered everything, it's for an appropriate reason. Every year, I even before Live in Limbo, I'd make these lists. I made them on the blog that I used to write for, Who Cares Reviews. Well, actually, I didn't write for them. It was my own strictly. I did this for ultimateguitar.com way back when. And I even did this on like Rotten Tomatoes when I had like my own account and nobody really cared. You know, I wasn't any hot shot or anything. So it's something that I've...
Now you're a hot shot. At least closer to one. Maybe
a cold hit. I don't know. But I've got a reason for releasing everything in such a way. Music is pretty consistent for most of the year, usually. I mean, last year you had Beyonce's Self-Titled, which is easily her best album, released way at the end of the year, for instance. And then, for instance, to go way back when Merriweather Post Pavilion by Animal Collective came out in like either January or February, and it ended up being like most people's album of the year, even though that was way at the start. So there isn't any formula as to when you should release an album usually, unless it's within direct competition. So I like to wait on albums a little bit, but with songs you have so many that you have so many to work with by the time the month rolls around of December. So that's the one that I start off with first.
Yeah.
And then I go with albums second, because it gives me more time to dwell on these more complete pieces as opposed to just single songs, because a song could be on a bad album, but it's still a great song. Or an entire album doesn't have a standout song, which wouldn't make it on the song list, but the album's on the album list. Now, movies are released in such a way that most award-winning films, whether they deserve it or not, are released at the end of the year for that very reason, so they can get noticed and voted for. So I tend to leave that a little bit later. And again, kind of like songs, the performances in films, you can kind of extract a good performance from a bad film, which on my list, I actually have a lot of good performances from not so great films. Now, I leave the film list to the very end, because even on Christmas Day, you have a lot of films worth noting. And sadly, unless I can get an early press release to A Most Violent Year, which is getting a lot of buzz, I don't know if I can even review it, because I don't know if I'm going to watch it in time, because that's being released on the 31st.
Oh,
but yeah, we'll see what I can pull off, hopefully. But yeah, that's why I have everything in that order. So I guess we should start off with songs.
Yeah, so first we'll talk about the songs of 2014 and then the albums. I like that analogy. I never thought about it like that before. Like some songs, there's like more songs, but they could not be on the best album, and the best album could not have any songs, standout songs. So that's pretty interesting.
Possibly. I mean, a lot of the time you will find that the best of something will contain the best of something. Like, for instance, let's say 12 Years a Slave had some of the best performances, and that was my film of last year.
Yeah.
But then I can't think of a specific example, but perhaps, okay, let's go with Drive, which is my film of 2011. I wouldn't say that any of those performances are like the best of the year, but I still think that everyone was consistently good, and the film stood out as the best of the year for myself. But again, I wouldn't say that Ryan Gosling beat out a lot of people that year, even though he was really good.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right, so Andreas, let's jump into this one. Let's do it five things at a time. Okay, so we'll go from 25 to 20.
Oh, we're doing all of them. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Let's do this.
Okay, so we'll do 5 at a time. That's okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so at 25, you have
Devin Townsend
with the Universal Flame. 24 is My Girl, Ariana Grande, featuring Zed, Break Free. 23 is Mac DeMarco, love him too, Passing Out the Pieces. 22 is Quirk, Break a Mirrored Leg. 21, My Girl, kind of. LaRue, Tropical Chancer, yeah. And 20 is A Sunday in Glasgow.
A Sunny Day in Glasgow.
Oh, God. It's late.
Yeah,
In Love with Useless. Okay, so these 5. I like Ariana Grande a lot. How did she even make your list?
Well,
she's not something I would think of like you liking.
When I saw Sean's text, and I'm speaking to you, the listener now, in response to my song list. Now, when I sent him my album list, he said, "Oh, that's a great list." And I said, "Thank you." But with my song list, the very first thing he said wasn't even a thank you for writing this or, "Wow, this list is good." All Sean said was, "Holy shit, why Ariana Grande?" And I thought that was a negative thing, but I guess you were just stunned because you actually like her a lot.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, which you just proved right now. Well, I don't think that just because the song's on the radio, it has to be unfathomably shallow. There are some songs on the radio that are really good, and I feel like Ariana Grande is insanely talented. And yeah, maybe I don't like her album too much, but I thought that song was really good, and I thought it's basic enough to get its point across.
And she's cute.
Perhaps. I did end up seeing her in person, actually, when she was doing a rehearsal for the Much Music Video Awards, I believe.
Oh, you're so lucky.
It was from afar, but yeah, she seems insanely short. But yeah, it might fit those rumors that she has to be carried around a lot.
Oh wow, okay.
Well, I didn't see that happening, but who knows? But I think the song is catchy. I think it's got a good point, especially during a year where a lot of pop songs were targeting self-image and basically pushing all of your burdens aside, which actually finds its place in another song of mine in my top 10, which we'll get to. You probably know which one I'm talking about, Sean.
Yes, I do.
But yeah, with that common theme, and perhaps maybe the song in the top 10 did it a little bit better, still, I still think Ariana Grande did it pretty well. And again, it's a catchy song. Zed's production work is pretty sweet. I don't even consider it a guilty pleasure, even though a lot of people may say, okay, that's the song he likes from the radio, so it must be his guilty pleasure. No, I think it's a good song. And there, I said it.
I think so too. I was pretty surprised, as you said. So, okay, these 5 from 25 to 20, they just barely made your list, I guess. And so how do you come up with these 5 at the end? What about these songs? You don't need to talk about Ariana again. We did that.
Well, I think I mentioned this in another podcast. I have like a massive list of things that I'm fond of during the year, and things that I feel like will be in the top 10, even if it ends up being like the top 15 and things have to fight it out. I'll put an asterisk next to it. And then we see from afterwards what ends up staying and what ends up being cut off. Now, of course, I put everything in order of how I like them, and these just made the cusp, I guess. So,
like Devin, he just made 25. He could have not made it. Who did he displace?
My goodness, I can't even remember right now because I wrote this like 2 weeks ago,
It was Taylor Swift, right?
What, Shake It Off?
Yeah.
It's actually not a bad song.
Oh,
If I had 100, maybe that would be on there. Actually,
oh, that
I
would be like 99 for you,
no,
or the
it'd be higher
100.
than that.
Oh,
I
okay.
actually do like that song, oddly enough. And I actually heard her album in full. Actually,
You may
it's
get some like criticism for not having her on like any of your lists.
well, I heard the album. It's actually not bad. It's pretty good. I don't like some songs. I really like
Still
some.
didn't make it.
Well, no, because I feel that these ones were better. That's why. But I'm not going to speak negatively about
Yeah.
her or anything. Yeah, and I never really have. I just thought that she's not really my type of thing. And well, 1989 is actually not that bad. So if somebody asked, should I listen to it, and you're into pop, I'd say go for it. But no, she didn't make my lists. Um, Speaking of poppy material, Devin Townsend, who's unquestionably pop for a metal
Yeah.
musician, and he knows it fully. I mean, he's flat out said that he's some of his inspirations are stuff like ABBA, for instance, and you could hear that. Now,
My dad
the
loves ABBA. I love ABBA.
I like the Visitors. That's about it. Now, Z Squared, which is the album that this came off of, it's actually a double disc. Half of it is a continuation of his Ziltoid Omniscient project, and half of it's part of his Devin Townsend project. I might have made the same joke in a review, I don't know, but and that comes from the latter, from his solo project. And while both the albums as a whole were all right, I didn't like the Ziltoid Omniscient Part Two too much. I thought it was too comical, and that's not really my thing, I guess. Um, I just remember the very moment that the song before Universal Flame led into that song, and it just pushed me aside with a huge rush of emotions, and it felt like something special. And because this is kind of earlier on both discs, I thought, wow, I am in for a huge ride. And sadly, I didn't feel that the rest of it really compared, even though a lot of it was still really good. That song was just such a big one for me. And a lot of it is very conventional in structure, but at the same time, I like it. It's not overly cheesy. It's a little cheesy, but in a good way. In a good
Yeah.
way. I do like it. Universal Flame's a good song.
So we like you and I like Mac DeMarco a lot. We saw him at North by Northeast,
Yes.
and you
And I
saw
saw
him
him
again.
again.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, at the Danforth. And both times he was very different live, very improvised, on the spot, very just excellent musician. And we actually filled out a list, all like a lot of us at Live in Limbo, that those will be going up shortly, right? Like
Yeah.
those personal blog things.
That's
Yeah.
supposed to be a secret.
Oh,
You heard it
really?
here first. If you're listening to Capsule,
You could delete this if you want.
no, that's fine. That's okay.
Okay. Well, thank you for listening. This is what you get. I won't say who I put, but there was a part that said, "Who do you think dominated this year?" And if I had to make a list of top five, Mac DeMarco would be in the top five.
Absolutely, yeah. He's
He
great.
he was nominated for Polaris, rightfully so. Salad Days was fantastic. He was on Rolling Stone's list.
That's
He was
right,
on other
yeah.
lists. Yeah, he did really well, and his live performances were really talked about in large amounts in various circles. Whether you're part of the indie scene or just walking past Young and Dundas Square and you saw him kissing the guy on the lips.
Luke.
Yep, Luke. I ended up seeing Luke, like not talking to him or anything because he doesn't know me, but I saw him at another show. It might have
Oh my
been
God! How do you know that was actually him? You can recognize him.
because somebody else who was at Young Dundas saw him and said, "I think that's Luke," and it looked just like him, and he was wearing similar clothing.
Dude, you
It might
should
have been
like
at the
talked to
OCs or
him.
something.
You should have talked to him.
No, but I didn't know him.
He's famous. He's
Yeah.
immortalized in like North by Northeast videos now.
Well, he's a hot shot.
Yeah.
But yeah, nonetheless, there were so many Mac DeMarco songs that were just so good on Salad Days, which is why it's so
Why
high
this
on my
one?
albums list. This one because even though all of them were really good on that album, and it's a very consistent album, this one it has different instrumentation which you won't find on a lot of the songs, and it just stands out, especially because it's in the middle of the album.
Yeah.
It gives you that extra push to keep going. The synthesizer horn sounds are very Beatlesque, as I was saying. Just the topics that he's talking about, like it especially fits his persona as kind of like this lazier
You bring
kind
up a
of
good
slack
point
person.
in that usually when you listen to an album, the middle track is kind of like the slower one or kind of like the in-between like filler type of song, but this one really does stand out.
Well, you want an album to keep going. I mean, my number one album of the year is freaking 2 hours long, but it has the momentum. Whereas some albums, which are half an hour long, are boring beyond belief. You need that momentum. And this song by Mac
It keeps you
DeMarco,
going.
yeah, it not only did it keep the album going, even though it's a great album and I didn't fear it getting boring at all, it's just a great catalyst song. It also stands alone very well because it's got a great message, which again identifies with his persona, where nothing comes free, even though it's this guy who looks so slacky, and is that a word? Um,
Yeah.
he looks so much like a slack, and it's just lazy about everything about him except for his songwriting, and it feels like it's coming from somewhere. It's just a very good pop song.
Tell me about Quirk. I don't know who Quirk is.
Yeah, this is one that a lot of people didn't really
How did he make your list here?
Well, as you know, I'm into a lot of producers like Fortet and Burial, especially, and actress, let's say, Caribou. I'm into a lot of instrumental electronic music, and if an electronic song, especially if it's instrumental, can speak to me in volumes ranging from how the production is, how crisp it is, or how pounding the bass is, to just how it moves and how it speaks to you in terms of how it creates a story without any words, it means a lot. And this song, it's pretty heavy. It's got a lot of nice tweaks as it goes along. It's just got a great momentum, and it basically says a lot without saying anything at all. And it's pretty catchy, but at the same time, it's pretty eerie sounding. It's uncomfortable, but you can't really stop listening.
Wow, that's pretty intense then. Yeah, I gotta check that out. LaRue. I like LaRue. I actually saw her. So when I came back from my trip, I think when I came back from Heathrow with the flight coming back to Canada, stop in Heathrow first. And then when I got off the plane, I'm in baggage, like pickup. I'm like, yo, that's LaRue. LaRue. You cannot mix that up. Like, you can tell by her hair. And she was playing the next day in Toronto. So.
Oh, well, you can't mistaken who she is. She's got a very specific look, and that's pretty cool because I wouldn't mind talking to her. Well, yeah, I know you didn't talk to her, but I wouldn't mind just picking her brain a little bit.
That might have been weird though, like right after like that 9-hour flight, however long it was, very long flight.
Yeah, she probably didn't want to really get into anything, especially because presumably by the time you bumped into her, I guess this was when she parted ways with what's the name of the producer she used to work with?
I have no idea.
But like LaRue used to be a duo, right? So I wrote it down somewhere. It's late for me as well. I don't remember right now, but yeah, so this album, it was very good at parts, but it was also very disappointing at parts for me.
So that's why you only picked one song.
Well, there were a lot of songs for me to pick from, like
this is a good example of how the song made it onto your song list, but not the album.
Yeah, because I didn't feel the album was good as a whole, but I felt like maybe like 4 or 5 songs were very well done, actually, and this was one of them. This one made it on top because it's the one that would always kind of find its way into my head more than the other ones, especially when the album was being promoted. Let Me Down Gently was great. Uptight Downtown, I think it's called.
Yeah.
That one's also really good, but this one, Tropical Chancer, just wouldn't leave me alone. And a lot of people are comparing it to Get Lucky from last year with, it's Daft Punk, of course, but Daft Punk wasn't the first group to have those funk chords being played. Well, Nile Rodgers, I guess, right? But it's a very common progression, and you'll find a very similar progression in Tropical Chancer, which, if that's why I like it, I don't know. But either way, I like it regardless of the comparisons.
Oh, yeah, I agree totally. So then another one I have never heard of, A Sunny Day in Glasgow. Who are they?
This is sad because A Sunny Day in Glasgow are very good. Are
they old or are they a new band? They must be an old band.
No, they're not old. They're from the last decade. Like, they're not new. This is a 4th album, but yeah, they're relatively new.
Are they British?
They're from the UK, I believe, of some sort. I actually don't know off the top of my head.
I like their picture, their band portrait with bananas. That's really intriguing. That makes me want to listen to their music.
Well, they're shoegaze, but they're not they don't really follow conventions too heavily. They do a lot of weird structuring in their songs, or a lot of, you could tell things were clipped together. Like you could tell this was clearly edited and it's not made to sound like it's one cohesive piece, but it still works as a cohesive piece. And their album made my list as well for the album list. And this song in particular, well, it's still one of the main singles off of it. It's so all over the place. It's basically it's almost bipolar, or multiple personality in nature. It's just so many things happening at once, but it's still very straightforward. But the lyrics are they're so abstract for such a poppy sounding song, which is kind of unusual. I think it's a great song. Yeah, everybody should listen to A Sunny Day in Glasgow and let us know what you think, because I
will
think,
do that. Yes.
yeah, they're a very easy to listen to band, even though I just said that a lot of their stuff is pretty not straightforward. But yeah, no, they're great. They're catchy. They're different. You need to check them out.
The next five are number 19, Flying Lotus, featuring Kendrick Lamar, Never Catch Me. 18, Death Grips, Billy Not Really.
Yep.
17, St. Vincent's, Prince Johnny. Wait, is that 5? No, 6. 16, Deaf Heavens, From the Kettle Onto the Coil. And number 15 is Ty Segall, The Faker. Okay, so let's see here. Fly Low. I like Fly Low. And you saw Fly Low.
Yes, Flying Lotus was one of the best shows I went to at 2014, and I'm sure
really?
a lot of people can agree. Yeah, no, that was a terrific show. We still don't know to this day if Flying Lotus was actually angry with us, or if he was just putting on a persona. I don't think we'll ever know, but either way, the light show was incredible. The selection of music that he played, the way that it all flowed together, it was just, everything was spot on.
And so what about this song in particular? Is it because Kendrick Lamar's on it?
Well, he's only on like half of the song if you really listen to it in full. And one thing that I really like is he's not treated as just a guest, but at the same time, he's not the sole reason why the song is good. He's used like a jazz instrument. Like, let's say a very typical example, if you listen to a Miles Davis album and you hear like a drum solo, the song's not solely about the drum solo, but clearly that part stands out.
Yeah.
But then it all comes back together. And that's how I feel Kendrick Lamar's contribution to this track is. It's not the sole focus of the track, not to me anyways, but it still stands out enough where it's like, aha, I love how quickly he goes. I love his wordplay. It just proves that he is one of the best rappers out there right now. But then after he's done, the song resolves itself. And it's still got very nice instrumentation. It's got a great course throughout its entirety, especially in relation to the entire album, which kind of works as one piece. It's just a very nice track by itself and within the album. Within the album, this is after a lot of like jazz fusion with guitar playing and all of that, and this is the first vocal track that you get on the album, and this is before you hear Snoop Dogg and Angel Dordorian later on, and it's a great introduction to bringing enough voice onto the
do your Snoop Dogg impression.
Did I ever do that on a podcast, or
no? Was that was in the Prince lineup. That never happened. You're like, are we at the freak show?
Oh my goodness, I don't know if I could do it well. I think that was just like a one-time thing.
Just try.
Well, I don't know. Like, what's Snoop Dogg talking about?
Freak shows.
What freak show are we talking about?
Like the TV show Freak Show.
Like American Horror Story?
Yeah. I'll pretend you're Snoop Dogg. Hey, have you seen American Horror Story Freak Show?
Man, I don't watch that shit.
That's great. That's cool.
Keeping it real. No, that doesn't sound like him at all. You seem to think so. I don't think anyone else will. But,
no, right. That was a little intermission there because I know the next one's a heartbreaker for you. It's Death Grips. You almost saw them live.
Not really, Billy. I guess you saw what I did there. Yeah, and it's okay. I mean, well,
2 weeks away. 2 weeks.
Oh, I've gotten over it by now, but what can you do? Yeah, the album, which I can't really say because it's foul. It was okay. I loved it initially, but then it got stale for me very quickly. And Billy Not Really is one of the few songs that still kept its life after the Powers That Be Part One, let's call it, died down for me. And um, I've talked about it before. I've talked about it twice actually on this list and on my Death Grips list actually. Um, I wouldn't say it's like one of their best songs. It's in their top 10 as I listed it, but it's the best on that album for sure. It's got a good two-part sequence where it starts off a specific way and then it just instantly speeds up, but it's not typical for Death Grips because usually you'd expect more intensity if it were to shift like that. But the second half of the songs, it's faster pace, yes, but it's not like MC Ride's yelling or anything. It's still relatively calm. It just feels like you're being hunted after, which I like. It's not aggressive. It's just a different tempo.
Yeah. Number 17 is Prince Johnny by St. Vincent. I also really love this song. When I think of her self-titled album, this is the song I think about.
This is unfortunate because I like a lot of songs on. Actually, I like all the songs on St. Vincent.
Mm-hmm.
And first of all, it was hard to pick one. Secondly, it kind of breaks my heart that it ended up being so low because at the beginning of the year, I said, okay, these are definitely, one of these is going to definitely make it onto the list. I got to decide which one. And when I kept adding songs to the list, I saw this one going down lower and lower. And while I feel it is appropriate, at the same time, I feel a little bit sad because it's not like I want to say that this song isn't that great within the year. It's still an excellent song, as is the whole album is excellent. So yeah, if you're angry that St. Vincent is so low on the list, keep in mind that I do think Prince Johnny is an absolutely exceptional song, and as are most on that album, actually. So yeah, terrific song, of course.
Have you ever, so when, like, I myself liked a lot of songs on the album, whenever you made like a best of songs list, have you ever had more than one song from the same album on the list before?
I usually don't because I like the variety. I mean, I'll look at a list like, let's say 2010 Pitchfork had two Kanye West songs in the top 10, which
It
I
could be
think
warranted.
yeah, of course. This is just a personal thing. I mean, with them, I say, okay, yeah, both of these songs are great, and I have no issue with it. But with myself, like when I see Rolling Stone has at least like 5 Beatles albums in the top 10, which I have no issues with because I think the Beatles are fantastic, of course, and some of those really are masterpieces. I have no issue with it. But if I were to make my own list, I like the variety and I like just saying this is the best from an artist because, if they rank Sgt. Pepper's above Revolver, you might have an inkling the entire time you listen to the Beatles where you think, well, this album's not Sgt. Pepper's because this got higher, And while that is true, if you do on your own terms, I don't want to be the one to instill that. So I like to just have the one album. So you're not aware to the fact that, let's say, Birth in Reverse is somehow worse than Prince Johnny because I had both on the list, let's say. If you just see Prince Johnny, you can say, oh, St. Vincent made it, and then see who else made it,
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's just a preference of my own, but I'm not against people who do it.
Speaking of which, at this very moment, if you Google search top 25 songs or even albums, your articles are topping the list, so that's pretty good.
Whoa, that's pretty cool.
Yep. And so, number 16, Deaf Heaven. Actually, you know what? You've interacted with a lot of these bands. How does that feel?
It feels pretty good. I mean,
like this is the first year that you've done that, right?
Yes. Well, I've talked to bands before, but never
this many.
Well, not just this many, but never on these terms where it's me having an actual interview discussion with them. I've hung out with bands like Mastodon and the Red Chord back when I was heavily into metal, and yeah, those were awesome. But those were just us kind of drinking and having fun. This was, this is different because this is me interviewing and getting into their headspace.
You were on the same couch.
Yeah, exactly. I was on the same couch with George Clark of Deaf Heaven, which was pretty cool.
Did you give him a hug?
No.
Oh, okay. So why? Tell us about this song, From the Kettle Onto the Coil.
The song is excellent, and it's just yet another great song from Deaf Heaven, which are one of the best metal bands, I think, within a very long period of time. And this song is great because it works like an entire album within a 7 or 8 minute song, however long it is. And it's got a whole story within it. It's got very fluid movements. It's got so much aggression, but a lot of pathos as well. It just speaks volumes, and it's something that they've really had a knack for with all of their releases, actually, even their earlier work. But they just perfected it on Sunbather and on this song, let's say. And yeah, it's this was meant to be a release for Adult Swim, and this is the high quality that they gave out. So that just says a lot about the band. Um, Again, the song is just fantastic on its own. I don't even have an inkling to want to hear it on an album.
Oh,
It's
really? Wow. Okay.
yeah, I like the fact that it's on its own.
Yeah.
It's just great by itself.
All right. Let's go into the. Oh, not yet. Tysigle's still here. The
Yeah.
faker. You also
Fake-
got to photograph him.
I got to photograph him and actually met him. I met him at the after party after his show, which was at the Smiling Buddha, I believe it's called.
What did he say?
He didn't say too much. He was signing a lot of people's albums and stuff. He basically just said thank you, nice to meet you, and that was it. But he seems like a really nice guy, and if you've read my review on his concert, he's evidence that there is still a rock and roll lifestyle present, which is why I think people like Gene Simmons are wrong.
Yeah.
And they're quick to judge because they're not digging deep enough. Just because a lot of people aren't franchising their music, I'm not bitter at all. Doesn't mean that they're not rock stars. Ty Segall is very charismatic, very intense, but also just a very good songwriter, and he knows how to convey a story or an idea across. And The Faker is a good example of this. To go back to the Beatles, which I actually referenced in my actual review of this, a lot of it reminds me of the song Taxman, which is on Revolver again, because a lot of it's talking about money. It's got this similar kind of vocal style and a lot of the same structure even. Plus, Taxman's got like that weird wonky guitar solo that Paul McCartney pulls off for some reason. I think that's like the only guitar solo he does for some reason because he's the bass player. I don't know. I could be wrong though. Anyways, that's very raw sounding, and of course, anything Ty Segall does is relatively raw sounding, and it's. I could be wrong about his influences, but to me, this is just very Beatles sounding, and it's intense, but it's very uplifting as well. It's got a very memorable chorus. It's just it's another very good pop song, and it's one that on an album of very good songs, it's one that stuck out for me again. And I said, oh my goodness, how is he going to top this? And people might disagree that this is the best song on the album because there are just so many songs of its nature which are just that good. But they might agree with me as well because it's, again, you can't really hate a song like this, I don't think.
No. Okay, now we're going into the higher echelons of the list. Number 14, we have Panda Bear, Mr. Noah.
Yes.
Number 13, that's a freaky picture, but it's Marianne Faithfull, Late Victorian Holocaust.
Yep.
You agree that's a freaky picture, right?
Yeah, it is. That's partially why I picked it.
Oh, okay. How do you pronounce this? Alceste?
A lot of people call them Alsace, but apparently I've been told it's Alsace because they're French.
God damn it, I hate when they do that. Silent T, again, same thing like Dakota and his Arsenal. It should be Arsenal, whatever. He'll listen to this and he'll make fun.
It's Arsenal.
Yeah, I know. And number 11 is Licky Lee, Never Gonna Love Again.
Yes.
That's a nice picture. That's a really nice picture. And then number 10 is Run the Jewels, Lie, Cheat, Steal. Okay,
Yes.
Let's bring it back up. So we have Panda Bear, who was on I know him from the, what's it called? The Daft Punk song. Crap,
Yeah.
what was it again?
Doing it right.
Yes, Doing It Right.
Which I think is a very good exposure track for him because, well, it won Grammy of the Year, or Grammy for Album of the Year, rather. Not Grammy of the Year. I mean, Jeez.
You get the
Man,
Grammy of the year. Whoa.
still a disservice. No. Anyways, no, he's a part of Animal Collective. He's obviously his own solo artist. And yeah, that song was great exposure for him. And this is going to tie in nicely to probably his most mainstream sounding stuff he's ever released, which is well, next year he's got an album coming up, but he had an EP this year. And while the EP itself was kind of okay, Mr. Noah was a very catchy song. I wasn't too fond of it at first, but the more I listened to it, the more it crept on me, and the more it's very weird, wonky, pulsating rhythm kind of just got stuck in my head. And the more that the more I began to figure it out. And I'm somebody who usually instantly likes stuff that Pannenberg does because he's just that kind of songwriter. But this one had to grow on me a little bit, but I still think it's very good. And it shows a lot of promise for his upcoming album.
Next one, number 13, is Marianne Faithfull. So you did feature her in, I think it was a song of the week or something like that.
Yep, and it was this very song.
Yeah,
it blew me away. I remember I was actually
that's how I was introduced to her.
yeah, and it's unfortunate because she's got decades of music, and I myself didn't know of her too well before, but like this song and her newest album actually brought a lot of her work to light for me, and I checked out a lot of it. A lot of it is very worth checking out, actually, and she is very talented. And this collaboration piece, which she did with Nick Cave,
my homie Nick Cave,
yeah, who's an excellent songwriter all around, of course. I was basically grasping at straws because that week I was going to feature the new Kendrick Lamar song, I believe. I think it was that week. And I said to myself, look, I just featured a Kendrick Lamar song with Flying Lotus. It's going to be silly if I do it again. But then I was on Pitchfork and I saw this song was on there and it got a lot of praise. And I listened to it and it brought
tears here.
No, it brought a lot of the same emotions I got from David Bowie's Where Are We Now from last year, which actually, when I ranked it last year, I ranked it at, I think it was like a 12 or 11 for the year, but it's actually gotten stronger for me. The more I hear it, the more it speaks to me. And this song as well does the same thing. It's very basic, but it's so chilling, and it attacks the right areas of both your brain and your heart. And it goes to show that age doesn't always deconstruct your talent or completely demolish what you're capable of. I mean, if you know how to channel your wisdom, you can create something like this song, and it's a very effective song.
Well said. Number 12 is Allez, as you say.
I'll say.
God damn it. I'll say.
Or I'll say yes.
So tell me about this song and this band. I've never heard of them.
Alsay are very good. Alsay or Alcest, whichever you prefer to call them. Like Death Heaven, I consider them one of the better metal acts of recent years, actually. And this year, they actually stripped their metal roots entirely, and they went fully post-rock and shoegaze. And a lot of people were kind of iffy with Shelter, the newest album, but a lot of people were into it as well. I liked it a lot. It actually just missed my album of the year list because I didn't feel like it was stronger than what I did feature, but it was pretty close because a lot of moments like this song, Deliverance, just felt very special to me. Now, if you haven't heard Alcest or Alcest, whatever, again, you want to call them, the way I always describe them is black metal mixed with Enya, which is a very bizarre combination. Yeah. And to me, it's because black metal is such an emotive genre of metal, and of course, Enya is just very chilling. There are so many moments within Alcest's discography that they can absolutely shake you to the core, and a lot of their music is some of the most emotive I've heard in a very long time. And Deliverance, even though it's got no metal within it at all, it's solely post-rock and solely shoegaze sounding. It's a lengthier track that a lot of it is repetitive, but again, they just found a sound that was able to be repeated over and over again, and it works. It's a song that it doesn't feel that long at all, despite the fact that it's repetitive and despite the fact that it's around 10 minutes or over even. But it's just they found the perfect sounds to use, and it it's something that I found myself really putting on repeat often. Even though I'd finish the album, I'd still want to hear that song over and over again. It's just a gorgeous, gorgeous song, and a lot of I'll say his discography is gorgeous as well. If you're into metal or anything remotely harsh,
Or Anya.
or Enya rather, yes. um, yeah, well, it's more metal than Enya, but if you're into genre combining like this, give them a listen because they surely deserve it.
Number 11, Leaky Lee. Never Gonna Love Again.
Yes, and
You
I
got to
just
see her. Yeah.
yes, I did, and she was very good live. I'm very upset that her album did not make my list. It was very close as well. That was like one or two off even,
Oh my
but
God.
it just missed it. Yeah, um it was a very good release, and it's possibly my favorite of hers so far. And yeah, it
Ever
just
or
sucks.
just on the album?
Well, I meant her album, but
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
I guess ever then, yeah, because it's my favorite album of hers. So,
And this
um,
song, I guess, is your
yeah,
favorite song of hers ever.
I think so because it's extremely basic, extremely formulated, but again, like let's say, um, no, no play on
I'll
words,
say, tongue twister.
no play on words intended. Lee K. Lee in this song especially just knew what sounds to use and how to piece them together and how to make a harmony out of it. And it's very to the point, but it still conveys every bit of emotion that you wanted to show. And while a lot of moments like that happen on her album, I wouldn't say that every song is a hit. Well, all of them are good. Not every song conveys this kind of emotion perfectly, but a lot of them do. But this song, especially, I think because it's so basic, got its point across insanely quickly with me, and I just think it's very. I think it's a very good again pop song, or in this case, to shake things up a bit, let's call it a very good ballad.
Number 10. Wait, are we in the 10 now? Okay, so
Yeah.
now we're in the top 10. Now things are getting serious now. Number 10 is Run the Jewels, Lie, Cheat, Steal. Number 9 is Beyonce's Flawless.
Yep.
Number 8 is Always Atop a Cake. 7 is Todd Turgey. Turgey?
I think it's
French?
Todd Terj. I actually can't tell. No, he's
Not Turgey.
no,
God damn it.
he might be Norwegian or Danish.
Okay, so no Turgey then. Okay. Number 6 is Lana Del Rey's Brooklyn Baby.
Yep.
And so let's go back up. So Run the Jewels. Love them again.
Yep. Sadly, this year really wasn't that interesting with hip hop.
They were the saviors of hip hop.
Well, they were, and Freddie Gibbs and Madlib were. And apart from those two releases, I was kind of waiting on the supposed Kanye West release later this year. But apart from that, I wasn't really floored by anything. I mean, Schoolboy Q was okay. I can't even think of any other releases right now. Like, nothing just really stuck with me. Whereas last year, you had Earl Sweatshirt, you had Danny Brown, you had Run the Jewels again, you had Kanye West as well. You had so many hip hop releases, and Kendrick Lamar the year before, obviously. I just, this year didn't really do it for me. But then Run the Jewels 2 came out, and I said, thank you. Two hip hop albums that I like this year. The other one being Madlib and Freddie Gibbs, Pinata. But yeah, it ended up being the hip hop album of the year for me, and this song especially. While I did like the first Run the Jewels album, I felt like it was a little bit overblown by people last year. But this album, when people were going insane about it, when I eventually heard it, I said, "Oh yeah, I can hear why. This album is just very intense and very upbeat." And this song was a good example of that because it's got very good rapping on it by both Killer Mike and LP. The production by LP and whomever he worked with on this track is very well put together. Every sound is very distinct, but it's also very cohesive. I like the chorus, the kind of chanting that they do in it. Um, just the politics behind the song as a whole. It's a very good rap anthem to me.
Speaking of which, when you listen to all of these songs and albums, what kind of headphone do you use?
I've got a lot of headphones actually. Like the ones I'm using right now. Let's see. I've got my JVC stereos on.
Oh, so like depending on the artist, you use a different one?
No, I've just because I listen to so much music, it's kind of become normal for people to buy me headphones for my birthday or for Christmas or for other occasions. So I've just got a huge collection. So
No, but
if
is there one that's like the most pristine or reference one that you use for stuff?
not really, I mean, I'm usually given a lot of very good pairs of headphones because I guess people know what I'm into. Like I'm into like bassier or
Yeah.
heavier toned ones because that's what I prefer. I started out playing bass like Jesus, like 14, 15 years ago. Wow. And 14 years ago, let's say. And because I like that, I'll usually get like a lot of bass heavy ones.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
I
that
guess
makes
for
sense.
now, yeah, I've got Sony's, I've got JVC's as I'm wearing right now. Um, I've
Beats by
got,
Dre.
I don't have Beats by Dre actually.
Oh. Would you mind one or no?
I don't know if I'd go out of my way to buy them because I think they're insanely overpriced. But if somebody bought me them, I'd say, sure, I'll use them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Number 9. Are you
Yes,
flawless?
I'm not because
Beyonce
I
is.
woke up with a very big unkept beard. So this was the song I was referring to earlier when we were talking about Ariana Grande. This is the pop song that promotes self worth in such a great way because this has a three-part structure where you start off with uh, I think the original song was called Bow Down and it got combined into Flawless. Um, and while the whole album has her speaking in vulgarities and just in a very blunt tone, it's still very bizarre to hear Beyonce swearing so often, you know? But nonetheless, I like the way that she does swear in this, the way that she does vocalize a lot of things. It's very punchy, um, very forceful. Her point gets thrown across the room and back again, so you are bound to be hit by it. The middle part has a monologue which goes on to talk about a lot of feminist ideas, and of course, a lot of her self-titled album shares this notion of feminism and equality of women and other genders, and then the last part's got this very dramatic sounding um, pop ending to this three-part song, of course, and that's basically what Flawless was before it got combined into this big behemoth of a song. And it's I like Lie Cheat Steal. It's repetitive in a way that it forces this idea in your head. I woke up like this or Flawless. Goddamn, goddamn, goddamn. I guess it's it's a very good example of a pop singer really discovering how to channel both the mainstream and those who kind of squandered her before and said that she wasn't really as good as people said. It's her best song thus far, I would say.
Ever?
Possibly. At
Wow.
least one of her best.
Okay, that's pretty good. That's a good tall standard. Hopefully she listens to this, but she won't. Number 8, Always, Atop a Cake. See, I love Always, and we found out about them at North by Northeast. And so,
I've known about them for way longer than that.
really?
Yeah, I've known about them since last year. Actually,
Oh, well, that's not like,
well, I think I heard them on Indie 88, oddly enough, and I thought, wow, what is this song? And I Shazammed it while driving. Sorry, I
was
hate to
that
it.
this song?
No, it was Young Adult Diversion, I think it's
Yeah, well,
called.
that's my favorite song. Why didn't that make your list?
Because I think this one's better. I don't know. The whole album is excellent, by the way, and that this was also a band where it was hard to pick just one song. Adult Diversion was a song that I liked a lot. Marry Me Archie, of course, their main single. Um, and at least like two other ones apart from this. So at least like five I was considering. But atop the cake, or atop that cake rather, because it's near the end of the album, it's just such a nice, cheery way, despite the lyrics being a little bit more somber than the actual song is, to end the album. And the song is heavily about whether or not this couple should get married or not, or if the relationship's even worth saving at all. And that mixed with like this surf dream pop kind of style, it's just so bizarre. But for some reason, it's kind of like you're getting through a difficult situation with optimism, even though the lyrics don't even show that at all. It's a very nice contradiction.
Yep. And number 7 is your man, Todd. Turgy.
I'm
Turge.
gonna. I've always said Todd Tersh. That's what I'm gonna call him.
Turge.
Todd Tersh featuring Brian Ferry.
What's so good about this song?
Well, for me, I'm a very big Roxy Music fan, and um, an album a lot of people either love or don't really get at all is Avalon, which was their last album before breaking up. And their stuff before was very new wave art rock sounding, but then Avalon was very synthetic sounding, very 80s nighttime kind of music, very slow and loungy. And I don't know if it caught a lot of people's appeal, but again, I liked it a lot. I actually own it. And um, to me, when somebody like Brian Ferry's featured on this cover song, which is also very chilling sounding and very nighttime and ethereal, and then you hear this guy's mature and aged voice, it's very haunting, and it turns what was originally a very upbeat kind of catchy song into something just very almost nearly disturbing, but you can't turn away. To me, it's a lot like Chromatic's Into the Black, which is a cover of Neil Young's My My Hey Hey. It's slowed down. It has a very different perspective of the song entirely, just because of the way it's done and who's featured in it. And to me, it's like a whole new song entirely. And most of the album, I think it's called It's Album Time by Todd Tersh. It's instrumental, upbeat, dancey, but then you have this song smack in the middle, and it catches you very off guard. And it just stuck with me the entire year from when it was released. I think it's an excellent song.
Lana Del Rey, number 6, with Brooklyn Baby. I like Lana Del Rey.
When I first heard Ultraviolence for a few times, that's also a paradox. There were so many songs that I was into on that album. Of course, I liked the whole album as a whole, and I know a lot of people will disagree with me on that, but I think Ultraviolence is a very great album.
I need to see her live.
I want to see her live. That would be nice.
What about this song?
Brooklyn Baby. Now, this one ended up winning because, again, it's the one that kind of stuck with me the most. But the reason why that is I think a lot of it has to do with her vocal play, especially within the chorus. It just chilled me a lot, especially when I first heard it, and it still does. And then her ex-boyfriend being featured, who sadly, as you can guess by now, they broke up, but they were together at the time that this happened, that the song was released, rather, and his voice sounding a lot like Lou Reed's, which she mentions in the song, it caught me off guard so much the first time I heard it, and I thought it was just like such a great way to nuance the ending of the song. Now, I don't know if this is true or not, but apparently she did want Lou Reed on this song, but he passed away, of course. Yeah. And I'm not sure if that would have ever happened. I don't know if Lou Reed would want to work with somebody with like Lana Del Rey, but if he did, then that would have been pretty cool too. But I like the topics that she's singing about, because this is clearly something that she's heavily involved with, trying to create this California kind of beautiful disaster of an image where, this is the lifestyle, you've got the money, you've got the glamour, but you're also a train wreck. And you've got a little bit of that here too, where she talks about getting high on hydroponic weed, which to her it sounds like a luxury, but at the same time it acts kind of like a punch to the gut when you're listening to it, like, oh no, what happened to this image? But then again, she's happy doing this. There's a lot of that in this song, and it kind of feels like the glamour is even stripped down a little bit, because this song sounds so personal, like video games did back a few years ago, that it's not like her in a mansion, it's her in the back seat of their car watching like the sun go down or whatever, and then going back to one of their places and listening to these albums that they're talking about in the song. It's a lot more realistic, but with this glamouresque kind of mentality that she wishes to achieve. I think it gets her image across very well, as did most of Ultraviolence.
Now, the top 5. This is the best of the best of the best of songs.
I think we should do one at a time for this.
That's what, yeah. Oh, like introduce them one at a time?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, okay. So number 5, Ariel Pink, White Freckers, Freckles. I
Yeah, you
like
might want
calling
to.
it Freckers.
Oh, okay. I thought that was a mistake. I was gonna
No,
say you might
no.
want to redo that.
In Rugrats, that TV show, they used to call it Freckers.
Really? I don't remember that at all.
Did you ever watch that?
I did watch Rugrats. I just don't remember that at all.
Look at all
Um,
those Freckers. Okay, yeah, okay. For
Look
Chucky.
at all those freckers. um,
You remember Chucky.
yes, of course I do. Chucky Finster. Yeah. When I did Song of the Week and I had time to do it, which I hope to return once January comes around, by the way, so stay tuned for that. Um, I featured the song Black Ballerina, which I think is still an excellent song. And then the album Pom Pom came out, and as we'll find out, it's one of my favorite albums of the year. And there were just so many songs to pick from. But White Freckles won because it's the second song on the album. And when I first heard it, I had the first song playing, and then this song kicked in. It set the mood for the rest of the album. The first song has a lot more avant-garde, kind of weird sounds put in there, even though it's still rather poppy. White Freckles is really aggressive in comparison. It's it's a lot more single-minded with what it's wanting to convey, and it's insanely catchy. It's the guitar line. It's not one that you can predict very easily. And even now, even now that I know what it sounds like, it still leads me somewhere else each time I listen to it. It's it's as perverted as the entirety of Pom Pom is for the most part, except for like one or two songs. Most of it's just very perverted and sexual in nature. It's got the superficiality of a lot of pop music, which Ariel Pink was very aware of when he made this album in particular. It's just undeniably catchy. I mean, you've got to listen to it.
I will. And number 4 is Against Me, Transgender Dysphoria Blues.
This song was very important. This is a song that came out very early in the year, and when I first heard it, I knew that this would be on the end of the list, or on the end of the year list, rather, and I just didn't know what position. At some point, it was actually leading everything.
So it was number 1 at one point.
It was, but then a few other songs came out, and you'll find out what those are. But it's a very important song, especially in regards to Laura Jane Grace's coming out, her transformation, and the new album, and who stayed in the band and who left because of all of this, all of these circumstances. And in true typical Against Me fashion, it's very abrupt. It's not soft worded. It's very to the point of what it's wanting to say, and it's a lot of it's very shocking to hear because a lot of it sounds like loneliness to the brink of wanting to be dead. People who use very offensive slurs towards her because of the way that she wanted to dress or who she wanted to be, despite the fact that she's not even homosexual. She's still into women. There's a lot of that there where it's just a lot of this aggression, which is featured out on the entire album, which is a pretty good album, actually. But in this song in particular, which sounds like an anthem of the year, it just feels so hurtful, but at the same time, like you could fight through this and you can make it out in the end. It's a very nice cocktail of emotions for a very serious topic.
Yep. Number 3, The War on Drugs, Red Eyes. How come, what's his, Sun Kill Moon's not here? With The War on Drugs Can Suck My Cock? That song's not on it?
No, and actually, Benji by Sun Kill Moon was a song that just missed my top albums list. It was on there, but it got slowly shoved off, which, sorry, it is a pretty good album, though, actually.
Did they resolve this, like...
No.
Oh, it's still going?
If anything, War on Drugs replied with a lot of hostility, actually, saying
I don't even get what it's about.
Okay, so basically, Mark Kozalik of Sun Kill Moon started complaining during his set at some festival in Canada, I believe. It was either Ontario or Montreal. Yeah, and he was saying that War on Drugs' music was drowning their set, and then he just started name-calling them, and then War on Drugs said, hey, we know who you are, we're fans of your music, sorry about that, but then he just kept instigating them with this whole Sun Kill Moon, go fuck yourself, War on Drugs, suck my cock deal, and he tried to make he tried to make that the Make a Reply song. He called them like commercial beer rock or whatever he called them. And then
So I
eventually
guess they're
Drugs
not
said,
fans of him anymore.
no, War on Drugs eventually said, we didn't even meet up with him, so he lied in that song. We don't even care to. We don't want to make a rebuttal. He's just a big bully and a child. And it was a lot more harsh than that.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, they're not too happy with.
So what about
this.
Red Eyes?
Red Eyes is a very triumphant song. I love the structure of the chorus, all of the layering of sounds, the harmonies of all of the instruments. It's very Springsteen in nature. I've said it a lot of times. Many people have said it a lot of times, but that's not necessarily a bad thing because Springsteen is, well, he's the boss. He knows how to write music, and him and the E Street Band, of course. And
Bruce Springsteen's actually, he's the guy who invented the first 3 song rules for photographers in the pit.
Was he really?
Yes.
When was this?
It can be traced back to him. I don't know when, but it can be.
Like back in the 70s even?
Yes.
Wow.
He came up with that rule.
Well, he's the boss.
You can thank him for that. Okay, yeah, can continue.
He is the boss. For those of you who don't know, basically when you're in the photo pit or outside of the photo pit, you're usually allowed only 3 songs to photograph any band, and you're not allowed to use flash either. So if you see photographers skedaddle, that's basically why. Now you know.
It's because of Bruce.
Because of Springsteen, yeah. But yeah, Red Eyes is very Springsteen in nature. This was also topping my list at one point, and I remember just hearing it on Lost in the Dream. I remember hearing it on the radio even. Just anywhere I heard it, I was just extremely excited to blast up the volume and hear it in full and repeat it as many times as I could if it wasn't on the radio. And it's just a very well-written song. It knows how to climax when it wants to. It knows how to play off of specific layerings of instruments. Like for instance, the piano chords that kind of end the song off, they're throughout the entire chorus, both of them actually, but they only stand out immensely so after the vocals are done, even though they're there the entire time, so they're not abrupt and out of nowhere. But they still stand out somehow. Just I don't understand how the mixing worked so well, but it does. It's just really well put together, structurally, lyrically, production wise, every wise, I guess.
Number 2, Caribou. Can't Do Without You. That rhymes.
Caribou Can't Do Without You. As I've said for the past few songs, this actually was the number 1 for a very long time, even after the number 1 got released.
But it can't be number 1 because it wouldn't rhyme. This
number
is 2, Caribou Can't Do Without You. That's perfect.
Yeah, so Caribou's album, Our Love, is, of course, phenomenal. It blew me away instantly, and it ended up being very high on my albums list as well. But Can't Do Without You was a song that I knew was special as soon as it started. And then once it climaxed at the end, I just knew that this would have a special place in my heart for the rest of the year. Sadly, the album came out really late within the year, but nonetheless, it's still one that transfixed me entirely. And there's really not much you can say about it because it's just so to the point. It knows what it knows what it's doing essentially. If you haven't heard it, please do. It's the pop song of the year.
And finally, number 1, Brian, I got this. N.O. and
No.
Carl Hyde.
It's Eno.
No. Return. Why is this song number 1 out of all the songs?
This song is very, very special. I am a very big Brian Eno fan of his early solo work, his ambient stuff, his production. In terms of his later solo work, I haven't heard too much that I'm actually too fond of. I think the last great non-ambient piece that he's done was perhaps his work with David Byrne back in the 80s. He's done other stuff that's all right, or just stuff that I'm not heavily into, like The Drop, I guess. But even this album, High Life, I believe it's called, it's all right. It's pretty good. Some songs stick out more than others. But when this song opened the album, I thought this was going to be like a 10 out of 10 album for sure, because it is a great way to start the album. And this is the kind of stuff that Brian Eno was so capable of making back in his heyday. Just this very moving, minimalist, genius kind of structure within a song. And Carl Hyde, who's of Underworld, also from the UK, does a lot of work on this album as well. Well, it's a collaboration, of course. But on this song, he provides the guitar work, I believe, and it's the same chords for the entire song, I believe, but it doesn't seem like it. It seems like they go faster or slower somehow just because the beats changed, because they get amplified. They sound like the strumming pattern's a bit different, but they're not. It knows how to add more by doing a lot less. And it goes through so many notions and so many feelings and so many ideas. The narration just stops and gives up in the middle of it, and it turns into an instrumental. It becomes uplifting, it becomes devastating, it becomes chilling, it becomes optimistic. It's just everything within one song, and it ends so abruptly. I believe I wrote that it feels like a comparison to how life works, and basically how it all ends, even, or how it all begins, rather. And it depends on how you look on it. It depends on how you look at it, rather. And it just speaks so much to me. I know I've said that a lot tonight, but
no, but like this is number one. This beat like every single other song. Like, so this stands out profoundly, and this is the huge deal.
Yeah, it's a huge song. It's absolutely exquisite. It's absolutely beautiful.
Do you think others will place this song high on their list too, or is this something unique?
I'm not sure, because usually a lot of publications will stick to singles because they have an entire team of people who have all of their own opinions about songs that they've heard. They have to kind of keep some semblance. But with me, I've got a little bit of free reign because I'm doing this solely by myself. And I can dig into stuff that isn't single worthy or wasn't ever promoted or even tried to be, you know. So I don't know if it will be. I'd like it to be, because it's such a fantastic song that had such an impact on me. And like I said, Caribou's Can't Do Without You was topping the list, even though this song was released before it. But then as the year went on, this song still came back somehow, because I just remembered how I felt the first time I listened to it, because I basically feel that rush of emotions every time I listen to it. It never gets old.
And with that completes the top 25 songs of 2014. Well done, my friend.
Thank you. But now we have more matters to discuss.
Yes. So quickly, before we get into that, quick tip. Did you know that if you had a cat and you held it steady and you were able to hold it steady somehow and you looked into its eyes, you could see the reflection of ghosts in the room if they are present?
Now, where did you read that?
I saw it on TV today.
Well, I don't believe in ghosts, so I don't know how beneficial that'll be for me, but
just a tip for you out there. I don't know.
Okay. Whoever believes in ghosts.
All right, let's go right into the top 25 albums of 2014. So yes. I had a question for you. So how many good songs does an album need in order to get on this list? Like 60%, 70%, 80%?
All of them have to be good.
Every single track.
Yeah,
not one track can be bad.
No, because otherwise it's not a solid album for me, which if I'm having albums that aren't solid in my top 25, then I'm really missing out on the
sometimes
bigger picture.
Though there are like albums that have like a few intermission songs that are like 20 seconds long, like blips.
Well, sometimes they
won't
add
that kill
to the
your
bigger
score?
Picture. No, sometimes add to the bigger picture. Like, let's look at Ball's Boutique by Beastie Boys. That has like that weird 30-second hoedown kind of sounding song, which is bizarre beyond belief, but it leads into the aggression of the song afterwards. I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but it's the heaviest track on Paul's Boutique, and it just leads into it perfectly, even though it's 20 seconds of complete nonsense, you know? Sometimes intermissions and skits can work. Like the skits on College Dropout, I think, are excellent.
Yep. Okay, let's dive into these last five first. So 25 to 20. We have Boris with Noise. The OC's Drop at number 24. Number 23, Every Time I Die from Parts Unknown. Number 22 is FKA Twigs, LP1. Love that. Number 21 is White Lung, Deep Fantasy. And 20 is Ice Age, Plowing into the Field of Love.
Yeah.
All right, so number 25 is Boris. What about these 25? So these just made your list, so...
Yeah, and unlike the songs where I had like over 50 submissions, sadly I didn't think this year was too outstanding with music. Like there was enough where I got a lot of quality releases. Well, all of my 25 I believe are of quality and of note, but I think I maybe had like 7 that didn't make the cut. You know, like a lot of this year didn't really impress me too much. Like let's say that some of the 7 were stuff like Perfect Pussy that didn't make it. Sun Kill Moon just barely didn't make it. What else is there? Again, I can't think off the top of my head.
Taylor Swift, 1989.
Well, I don't know about her, but see, like to me, I don't
made
think...
more money from her album than every single 25 albums on this list combined.
That doesn't mean that she's better.
I know, but she's richer.
Still,
rather die in a mansion.
I guess. Well, I can't really say anything too negative about Taylor Swift because I got nothing against her. So I can't say like her music's crap because I don't believe that. But so Boris and Noise. So Boris has been around for a very long time at this point. They've dived into so many different variations of noisy music that it was just only a matter of time when they released an album called Noise, especially in a year that was dominated by noisy albums, as you'll find out. And this album's basically like a compilation of all of the sounds that they ever kind of experimented with, whether it be like fast metal or drone metal, just hardcore punk, shoegaze, post-rock, whatever it may be. As I said in the review, there's even a really soft J-pop kind of sounding song just to put a contrast on the album and make all the rest of the songs just stand out even more, which I think is very creative. It's just every aggressive person's dream come true, basically. It's definitely worth checking out.
And now that you've looked at the album, do you know why I brought up that tidbit before about the cats?
Because of the cat on the front.
Yes, now it makes sense. Now everything makes total sense, right, Andreas?
Except for the cover art for DOC's Drop.
Yeah, what is that? I see like some kung fu guy kicking... I don't even know. Okay.
I think his leg's actually tied to a noose or something. I can't remember. I'm not looking at it right now, but I've got the album actually on vinyl, so I could look at it, but I'm too lazy to move right now.
You got to see these guys as well.
Yes, I actually saw Boris as well live. The OCs. The OCs are interesting because they're actually both Boris and the OCs are very noisy and very prolific. And the OCs, after Plying Coffin last year, said we're going to go on a hiatus. But then Dwyer made up a new band, which is still under the OCs' name because it's his project, but the lineup's different. And he just kept going, I guess. And Drop came out, and it's very typical in VOC's nature, so you know what to expect with Drop, which is still of high standard. You know, it's hard to ignore. It's hard to kind of not get what they're doing with this. It's fun. It's radical. It's Drop.
Number 23 is Every Time I Die. Isn't this like an emo band?
Not even close. No,
I'm joking.
Well,
sounds like one.
They've experimented with a few similar sounding genres like metalcore, southern rock, and metal, I guess. They're a very fun band as well, actually, and they've had a pretty consistent discography as far as I'm concerned. And Keith Buckley, who's the main lyricist and vocalist of the band, has such witty wordplay all of the time that you're always getting something pretty fresh. But From Parts of Unknown is probably their freshest sounding musically as well, because it's their most aggressive since Hot Damn from many a year ago. And again, you can't ever really go wrong with these guys. If you get what they're doing, you're bound to like most of what they're doing because they're pretty on top of whatever they do, and each album still sounds very different. Um, but again, it's their most aggressive. It's their heaviest. They experimented a little bit more with the punkier side of things with X Lives a few years ago. Um, what's it called? New Jack Aesthetic was a little bit more melodic at times, but it had a lot of contrast with it as well. For Parts Unknown is mostly just a big punch to the gut, and they work with the weird time signatures that they were working with back when they were at more again a heavier band, and um, it just sounds more mature, but at the same time, it doesn't sound too mature and too serious about itself. It's just a very cohesive album.
Number 22, FKA Twigs LP1. Honestly, this would have been in my top 5 albums list, but this is your list, so.
Well, it is for most people actually, and it is a very great album. I don't know what I'm missing because a lot of people agree that this is one of the best of the year, like above what I put it. I still think it's very good though, and I like the production on it. I like the fragility of
Well,
everything.
what didn't you like about it?
No,
Or
nothing.
what would have made it go into your top 10?
Um, again, it's hard to say because all of these albums I do like. That I don't have any real quips with them at all. Otherwise, they wouldn't be featured at all. But perhaps a
that's true.
little bit more variety in tone.
Okay.
But otherwise, for its goal, it pulls it off pretty damn well.
Do you like poodles and dogs?
No, but White Long does.
Yes. So
If
we
you
have cats
stare
and
into
dogs now on
if you
vinyls.
stare into a poodle's eyes, apparently you see condiment stands. I don't know.
Sasquatches.
You see what?
Sasquatch.
Oh, you can see Sasquatch, yeah, but he's always blurry, I guess.
That's
White
really
Lung.
interesting. Huh.
If it's true, of course. Yeah, White Lung. This is their third album. They've put out great release after great release, and I'm not sure myself if this is their best, but in the moment, it feels like it is. I've just got to see things in the greater picture once the years go by, but it's another noisy album. It's punk rock done very well. It reminds me a lot of old Fucked Up actually. Not as much melody within like lead guitars per se, but just rhythmically it's like Fucked Up in a few ways. But vocally it reminds me a lot of like Hole and Courtney Love even. Um it just kicks ass, this album, and it's to the point, it's short.
Do you have this vinyl?
No, I would like it though, actually.
You should put this up with the Boris one.
I don't have the Boris one though, so
Oh, you need these two. You'll have a cat and a dog. That'd be cool.
and they're both in very weird scenarios.
Yeah.
Well, that dog is with like I don't even know what's going on
Yeah,
there.
I don't know what the hell's going on either. Okay, anyways. Let's go to the next 5. Number 20 is Ice Age Plowing into the Field of Love. 19 is A Sunny Day in Glasgow Again. See When Absent.
Yep.
Number 18 is Tysigal Manipulator. 17 is Lana Del Rey, Ultraviolence. And 16 is Flying Lotus, You're Dead, exclamation mark.
We gotta say it like Flying Lotus. You're dead.
You're dead.
Exactly. That's how you pronounce it.
And number 15. Oh, no. Yeah, we'll just do that first. Okay.
There's too many.
Yeah.
Ice Age. So Ice Age is another hardcore band, and their first 2 albums are very short. And this one, especially because it came soon after You're Nothing, which was last year's release, it's very unexpected because it's still very Ice Age, but it veers off the immediacy of their usual work. It's got a lot more experimentation going on, but it's still highly an Ice Age album. It's longer, it's got more room to breathe, it's got more emotions and ideas, but it's still very blunt and it's still very edgy. And I believe Ice Age is your favorite band because you can't even shoot them at all, right?
Not at all.
No.
That's true. Yeah, that's very true.
And they were considered. Who was the Who's a publication that gave the influential list that skipped the Beatles?
Who I don't know. Who was that?
The one that said Radiohead was the most influential band ever.
Oh my god. No, I think that was NME.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they placed Ice Age on there, and it's funny because um, this album goes against a lot of what they were doing before, even though it's still in Ice Age fashion. It goes very far in the opposite direction a lot of the time, and if they were supposedly influential then who knows now? You know,
Yeah.
maybe they'll just rank higher on the list. I don't know.
Maybe next time. Number 19, A Sunny Day in Glasgow. So this album made it.
Yeah, and as I was saying before, a lot of the album works in the same way that that the song that I featured did. It seems very cut and paste, but in a good way. Everything still flows. It's very happy and sunny, but a lot of it is very abstract and kind of wonky as well. It still makes a lot of sense, and it takes a lot of risks for a dream pop shoegaze band. It's uplifting, but it's also very interesting and not stale. You've really got to check these guys out. A lot of people should, because a lot of people came up to me saying, "Who are these guys?" And it saddens me because this band's really good.
Yep. And number 18 is Ty Segall. Seagull. I keep saying it in one word. Ty Segall.
It could be Seagal. I don't even know.
You don't.
I just call him Seagal. Yeah.
Okay. What did you like about Manipulator?
Well, hopefully it is Seagal, because otherwise I just feel ignorant. Manipulator, as I was saying before, it just has punch after punch after punch. And yeah, while I did feature The Faker as his best song of the year, that doesn't mean that it's the only song worth listening to, because the whole album is just of high standard. And oddly enough, it's kind of like what Ice Age did, not thematically or anything, but the fact that it is a longer release of his, and it does veer off a little bit into the opposite direction, whereas Ice Age chose to be more folky and experimental. Ty Segall or Ty Segall, whichever it is, today's just been really bad for enunciating and pronouncing things.
Yeah, I don't know what's up today. Yeah.
Ty became very poppy with his album, but it's still very raw sounding. It's just a delight to listen to. And if you're looking for something poppy with a little bit of edge, if you're into stuff like White Stripes, perhaps, Ty Segall's newest release.
Check it out.
Yeah.
Number 17, Lana Del Rey, Ultraviolence.
I was very disappointed with Born to Die. I remember when Video Games and Blue Jeans was out, which I actually have the single on vinyl, which I'm pretty happy about. I also have Ultraviolence on vinyl, so yeah, take from that what you will. Now, Born to Die came out. There were a number of songs that I liked. Most of them I already knew before the album came out. Most of it disappointed me, and the overproduction was a big issue. The staleness of a lot of it was an issue, and she kind of went off the radar for me. Now, when Ultraviolence was first coming out, and a few songs were being released as singles, my attention was heavily grabbed at again. And then once I heard the full album in its entirety, which is, again, redundant to say, this was the album I was waiting for her to release from day one. And I think it's, again, with this image that she's created for herself, I think it's very appropriate. It doesn't overdo a lot of the symphonic and production elements. It doesn't flatter itself too much, but enough to still have a bit of an ego to it, which you kind of need with Lana Del Rey's music. And I like a lot of the self-awareness, like Fucked My Way Up to the Top, which, it seems like a very silly song title at first, but it might not even be your cup of tea once you hear it. But to me, I like the fact that it's there, because it's kind of attacking those who have been saying that this is how she got famous, but at the same time, it feels guilty about it as well. But it's still a big stance against these people, and I feel like a lot of this album is that, where it's self-aware, it's self-referential, it's It's ironic a lot of the time. It's it's saddening, especially when it's trying to be happy. But it's still a pop album, and it still has pop mentalities that will grab your attention. It's a very nice paradox. This album, Ultraviolence.
And number 16 is Fly Low, Flying Lotus with You're Dead.
You're Dead is a very good album because it examines the many different possibilities that happen after you're dead, which include going to another place or an afterlife, being stuck within your brain as it's dying slowly, reaching an epiphany. A lot of the messages are being conveyed by various voices, no matter what these messages are trying to convey. And it just has so much going on, but it's still one cohesive piece of music, as I was saying before. And it's very thought provoking. It's very creative and ambitious with its with what kind of genres it's trying to attack all at once. Like again, it goes to jazz fusion, electronic music, just straight up jazz, hip hop, even some poppier elements. It's got a lot going on, and it's definitely something that Flying Lotus put a lot of effort into, as he always does.
The next 5 is the New Pornographers with Brill Bruisers. Number 14 is Spoon, They Want My Soul. Number 13 is the Silver Mount Zion Memorial Orchestra. Do I have to say this?
Yes.
Fuck off, get free, we pour light on everything. Does that even make sense? I guess so. Whatever.
It does make sense, actually.
And number 12 is The War on Drugs, Lost in the Dream. Number 11 is Always. Weren't they number 11 as well for a song? Yeah.
No, they were higher for song.
No, they were 11, weren't they?
No, they were top 10.
No.
Yeah, they were.
Oh.
I wrote the list.
Oh, yeah, that's true. All right, so let's back that up into Brill Bruisers.
Yes, and I actually had the fine opportunity of interviewing members of the New Pornographers. Very
At the
nice.
Last Gang headquarters.
Yes, actually, and I got a chance to see them live. Very nice people. Brill Bruisers, I'm so glad I got to listen to this ahead of time because I felt like with a lot of the press releases I got this year, it feels good when you can hear an album and say this is going to affect a lot of people, and then a month or so later you see all of these accolades coming in, and that happened with Brill Bruisers, and I'm so happy that it did because
You're welcome.
it's just sorry.
You're welcome.
Oh yes, thank you. Thank you for this opportunity. It's a very uplifting, happy sounding album, even if lyrically it isn't always, but stylistically it's just so joyful and just so bubbly that you can't be down while listening to it, and it just has anthem after anthem after anthem. There's just hook after hook after hook. Every song is undeniably like magnetic, even. Just so many of these songs, if this was like earlier last decade or in the 90s, if this album existed, so many of these songs would be on the radio because that's the kind of open that's just how open radio stations were back then. A lot of songs from this album would probably be featured because they're just that lovable, and I can't imagine anyone hating this album, whereas like a lot of albums I featured I guess are of my own taste, but I can't imagine anybody hating Brill Bruisers. It's too happy and nice, you know?
Exactly.
Great summer album.
Yeah. Now it's winter. Oh well. Anyways, so number 14 is Spoon, They Want My Soul. I love this album, and I know our music editor, Sarah Ricks, also loves this album.
And so does Dakota Arsenal, or as you say, Arsenal.
No, I say Arsenal.
You better. A lot of people do, and a lot of people like Spoon, period, because Spoon's just...
People were making fun of them.
How are they making fun of Spoon?
No, remember at North by Northeast, everyone was like Spoon, like Spoon jokes like everywhere.
I didn't see any.
Oh, it was all on Twitter.
Well, you know me and Twitter.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah. Why did you like this album?
Well, Spoon's just great overall, and they're always on top of their game. And one thing I do like is, yes, a lot of bands that I listen to do something extra. They do something different. Spoon just sounds like straight up rock that's just good.
Do you remember
which
Anthony Fantano's review?
no, what did he say?
He said, "This is a good album that just gets you from place A to B safely."
That's what Spoon does, though. What did he
Yeah.
end up giving it?
Oh, I don't know, like an 8 or a 9 or
That's
something.
not bad. That's
Yeah.
not bad. That's what Spoon does, though. They don't do a lot of tricks. They don't try and amaze you too often. They're just very consistent, and they just know how to write good music. And everything that they've done is just very straightforward. It's very obvious, even though lyrically it does take a few chances here and there. But musically, it's in your face, and you know what you're getting. But
Yeah.
it's always coherent. It's always channeling what it wants to channel. And I don't know how Spoon do it because they're one of the most effortlessly sounding quality bands that's out there.
Yeah.
I'm glad to say because they reformed or came back from their hiatus. But either way, they just know how to sound effortless, and you could tell that their music isn't, but it's not demanding at all, and you can't go wrong with Spoon.
Fantano specifically said it's like a good car that you've had, like a Civic or something that you've had for a year that gets you from place A to B safely.
Yeah, they're just insanely
Yeah.
reliable. That's what they are.
Exactly.
Spoon's just reliable. You can't ever say, I wonder how this will be. You just know the Spoon's gonna be at least good.
It will
Never
get
mind
you there.
decent.
It
Yeah.
will get you there.
They're always been good or higher.
Okay. Yep. And number 13, The Silver Mountain. Zion.
It's just Silver Mount Zion.
Oh my god, you say it then.
Without text in front of me, the Silver Mount Zion Memorial Orchestra.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Fuck off, get free. We pour light on everything. Yes, that album name does make sense because it's addressing the fact that they're very specific with their political views, as you could tell in concert. It with if they even do interviews, I don't even know if they do, but whatever they say, and their music, of course, and the "fuck off, get free" is a nice contradiction because it's basically telling people to, stop being lazy and find their freedom, but basically telling them to fuck off while doing it.
I like you guys. I want you to keep doing your good job. Strive for the best, but go fuck yourself.
Well, basically, it's out of anger because people aren't doing anything. So it's like, fuck you. Why are you doing anything? That's what it is.
Oh, it sounds like that. Okay.
Yeah, because
that's why we're doing this podcast.
Yeah. Well, again, I got a chance to see them live at Lee's Palace, and they were saying a lot of very, very blunt political opinions about Stephen Harper, about Canada as a whole, about Quebec, the economy. Just prime ministers or presidents in general, how they're all basically going to be useless because we have to make the changes, not them. It's very, very to the point, and that's what you'd expect. But this album just feels very appropriate because of a lot of the political injustice that's been happening.
Did they not see Stephen Harper sing that AC/DC song?
Oh, they probably did, but they're probably flat out ignoring it. I don't know. Oh. That was terrible.
Oh, well. Number 12 is The War on Drugs, Lost in the Dream.
Which a lot of people like FKA Twigs and LP1 are probably wondering why it's so low because Lost in the Dream was very high and even topped a lot of albums. I don't know. I thought it was a very good album, of course, because it's on here. And I find a lot that is comparable with albums like Disintegration by The Cure, as I said in the review. But I guess some people liked it more than I did, even though I still think it's a very damn good album. It's got a lot of nice ideas going around. It's it feels like a nice long daydream, no pun intended with the album name. It just feels like you're lost in thought and you're kind of coasting around. And Red Eye it's one of the more upbeat songs on the album because a lot of the songs towards the end are very lethargic and kind of very slow, and they develop their sound slowly but surely. But that's kind of nice as well because it's just an album to kind of ponder to and just think and reflect with. But at the same time, there's still a lot of statements being made and a lot going on there. So it's not really dependent on you alone. It's nice. I don't know. A lot of people might get mad at me for having it so low.
No, they won't be mad at you. I love
I
you.
hope not.
Okay, no
Well,
worries.
thank you.
Number 11 is Always with Always.
Now, I know I only rated this like within the within like the lower 8 range when I first gave this album a rating, but it's grown on me even more. And that's the thing with critiquing and reviewing, which a lot of people don't really seem to understand for some reason. It's not always set in stone and definite unless you make like a very bold statement like this is perfect. Because if you change your mind then you're a bit faulty. But if you think something's just okay and you like it more, or you think something's pretty good and you like it less, it tends to happen. And I did think Always was a very solid album, but it just grew on me even more to being an album that just barely made my top 10. Like it was in my top 10 until like a few albums slowly pushed it out, sadly.
Like Freddie Gibbs.
Freddie Gibbs and Madlib, yes, which we'll get to in a second. I actually got a chance to meet the band at their show. They're all very nice people. I got my album of theirs signed, and Rolling Stone said this album was great. A lot of publications did too. This is an investment, not just what I had with like my signed album and stuff, but this album in general. I think if you want to be ahead of the gang and see and hear this band before they get massive, because I'm sure it's going to happen.
They still won't come on our show. I tried again.
Well, I don't know. With me, they said it was they wanted to. I don't know, but give this album a listen because it's like a few of the other ones on here. You really can't go wrong with it. There's nothing too abrasive or alienating about it, unlike some of my albums that I placed higher, which we'll get to.
All right, top 10. So number 10 is Freddie Gibb, Madlib. How do you pronounce that? Pinata.
Sean, it's Pinata.
Pinata. I know, I'm joking.
I hope you're joking.
Yeah. Number 9 is Mac DeMarco's Salad Days. Number 8 is Run the Jewels with Run the Jewels 2. There's 2. Yeah. Yes. Number 7 is Mr. Twin Sister. Well, there's a lot of like self-titled albums, eh?
And they're not even like their first album, except for Always, of course. But yeah, I didn't even think about that. It's the year of the self-titled.
What egotistic assholes. Anyways, number 6 is Aphex Twin with Cyro.
Well, there's a reason for Mr. Twin Sisters, but I'll get to that.
Okay, let's back that up to your boy, Freddie Gibbs.
Freddie Gibbs and Madlib. Madlib's
Pinata.
Yes, Madlib's one of the best hip hop producers of all time. Again, as far as I'm concerned, and Freddie Gibbs has kind of made it big onto the scene within recent years. He's got some talent for sure, and I mean, Pinata is probably my favorite release that he's ever been a part of. I don't know about Madlib because he's been a part of Mad Villainy, which damn, you can't really compare too much with that album, right? But Pinata was just excellent. Like the production values were just so nice and remarkable. Like they just feel magical with Madlib for some reason, even though you could tell that this is being sampled or this is obviously done in the studio. For some reason with him, there's just like an extra touch of something that just makes it sound special. And I can't really pinpoint what it is. Perhaps it's his fine hearing for what soulful samples to use or what specific sounds to use to elevate a song. I'm not really sure, but Freddie Gibbs and his rapping and all of the guest artists as well, on top of these beats and melodies, I guess, it just sounds so tightly knit. And I can't even really pinpoint how, because a lot of the time the music itself will sound really nice, but he'll be using a lot of foul language, Freddie Gibbs, but he's got a lot of thought behind his lyrics as well. Like a lot about where he's from, where hip hop is going. And yeah, I believe it's called Pinata because Freddie Gibbs wanted it to sound like if you smacked this album open, you'd find a lot of good shit. I don't remember exactly how he said it, but it was something of that nature. And he's right. It's what happens when you listen to this album. There's just a lot of very special moments here.
Moments. And number 9 is Mac DeMarco's Salad Days.
Yeah, speaking of moments, of course, this Polaris nominee, it's so difficult to talk about a lot of Mac DeMarco's music because a lot of it is just so plain. He's basically the goof in class that did well on his assignments. you can't really say too much because you don't even know where all of this good quality comes from because
Every
you see him.
classroom has that.
Yeah, exactly. Like he goofs around a lot on stage, um, in interviews, his music videos, his web releases of whatever he's shown on YouTube. He's just a big goof, and I don't get where this amazing songwriting and serious music comes from. But wherever it comes from, I mean, it has to
He
keep coming.
hires someone.
No, no.
I'm joking.
I believe it's from him. I believe it's from him. I think he has a truly stellar act. And Salad Days, um, again, you can't really go wrong with it. And it it's one of the albums that I like that kind of shows up once in a while where you don't need to be insanely ambitious to be good. You know, sometimes you just need to know what to do. And Salad Days doesn't try to pull any huge punches or try anything that's really absurd to try and catch your attention. It just is what it is, and it's just good. It's just a very good album. And I remember when I first heard it, and I knew I was going to see Mac DeMarco live at XNE like 2 weeks later, that I was going to buy it at a show, and I did. I bought it, and money well spent because it's just such a relaxing, calming, cheerful yet bittersweet album because not all of it is happy lyrically.
And we like being happy. And number 8 is Run the Jewels with Run the Jewels 2.
Well, if anybody's happy, it's these guys. I mean, live they're such an act. Like they're always smiling, having fun. Even on this album and its previous one, yeah, there is a lot of severity and a lot of like serious stuff that they're talking about. But you could tell that they had fun always doing every single part of this album. They just enjoy each other's company so much, and they're just a great team. And I feel like whatever they had on Run the Jewels, the mixtape, they upped their ante and they risked a lot, and they pulled it off with this album. They tried bigger sounds. They tried more complex lyricism. They tried pretty interesting guest spots like Zach De La Rocha, who you might recognize from Rage Against the Machine. And it all works very well. It's a ballsier release, but it pays off because it is. It's just a very it's the best hip hop album of the year. Of course.
Yeah, that's a big thing for sure. All right, so lucky number 7 is Mr. Twin Sister with Mr. Twin Sister.
Now, I believe they used to be called Twin Sister,
Oh my God.
they switched it to Mr. Twin Sister. And I've been reading places online that this album has a lot to do with some concept about I don't even know. No, I don't even know if this is correct, but some apparently it's like a concept of a transgender person being murdered and like them trying to discover who it is. Again, I don't think that's correct because that's not what I got from it, but it could be. I don't know. If so, the name makes a lot of sense. If not, whatever. It still kind of has like a nice niche to it. But nonetheless, concept or non-concept aside, it's perhaps the highest poppy album, except for my number 2, of course. Because from here on in, I think it gets pretty wonderful in that sense. But yeah, it's very groovy. It's very retro sounding. It's loungy as well. To me, it sounds like I'm in some sort of a sci-fi bar with robots around. I've got this lounge singer singing in front of me. It's a mixture of an older Ridley Scott movie with a David Lynch soundtrack. It's eerie but very soothing at the same time. I don't know. It's something that I heard and I knew initially and instantly that I needed to get this album when I bought it. So
Yep.
Yeah, it's definitely worth checking out because I don't think Mr. Twin Sister is on a lot of people's radars. And if you're into a lot of soothing and groovier kind of pop music with a little bit of funk element and a little bit of retro sound to it, then here you go, Mr. Twin Sister.
There you go. And number 6 is Aphex Twin. This is a big one. Cyro.
Yes, and what I liked about this album a lot is the first time I heard it, I thought, well, this is okay for Aphex Twin. But the more I listened to it, the more came out. And it's stuff that it's not even stuff that I took for granted the first time around. It's stuff that I didn't even notice at first. Like a lot of the song structures don't even make sense at first, but the more you listen to it, the more it kind of pieces itself together. And obviously, Richard D. James has a firm grasp of how the music industry is, what's working and what isn't. And even though this is still very signature in sound and a lot like old Aphex Twin, and it's not really breaking any ground, it's still doing it very well, and it's still it's still for a newer audience and for older fans.
Yep. And now the big top 5. We'll do it one by one.
Yep.
Number 5, I've never heard of. Number 5 is
Pharmacon.
Yes.
With Bestial Burden.
What an interesting cover art.
Well, you should hear the music. Okay, I don't know if Pharmacon's going to be your kind of thing, but basically Pharmacon is a single project. It's basically, do you know Old Swans by any chance? Like from the 80s?
Nope.
Well, it's very intense and in your face, a lot of screaming, very gothy sounding. That's Pharmacon, except with female vocals instead. And it's a very disturbing album. The album art alone is pretty graphic. You could see like a cadaver with its rib cage broken open and like its organs dripping out. And the album's very similar to that, where a lot of it is difficult to swallow. A lot of the music is very repetitive with the screaming is so intense that it hurts your throat. Like it feels like her vocal cords are going to bleed.
Oh my God, I don't think I'll like that.
It's a very intense album, and there's even a segment where you hear somebody gagging as a bit of an intermission for a little while. And if you're into stuff like Throbbing Gristle and just some of the more experimental avant-garde, disturbing, kind of noisier or gothy sounding stuff, Pharmacon will be your thing.
Like Taylor Swift.
1989 is very intense, yes. That's probably the most intense album I have on there, actually. It was more intense than any metal album this year, for sure, actually.
But that's interesting that you go from that into number 4, which is St. Vincent, St. Vincent.
But even so, St. Vincent is a little bit more than just pop, which I like.
Yeah.
Even for her, when she was doing a little bit more outside of indie or pop music as well, St. Vincent goes the extra step further and becomes like a galactic kind of disco even at times, where a lot of what she did with David Byrne, she brought here. So a lot of it's very Talking Head sounding. A lot of it's art rock sounding, which it wasn't too much before. And she took the awkwardness that she had before and turned it into something she's insanely proud of with St. Vincent. And yeah, I mean, I still think that something like Mr. Twin Sister is poppier than this, because there's a lot of moments on St. Vincent that would be kind of abnormal to people who are just used to pop music. But I think she's a great gateway into stuff that's more obscure, even though St. Vincent is very, it's still a very poppy album. But you know, it's got a lot of great songwriting there. It's got a great message about technology and social media and the youth of today and the adults of today, even. Just this generation and how brain dead it is, even. But she put it under her own name because she's this new androgynous machine that's come out and become a superstar. You know,
that's a good way to put it. Number 3 is Ariel Pink with Pom Pom.
Yes, and as I said before, Pom Pom is chock-a-block full with so many quality songs. Now, a lot of songs on here are insanely poppy in nature, but a lot of them are very freaking weird. At work, actually, we listen to, we've got like a main iPod where we listen to a lot of albums, and I remember we decided, let's put on Pom Pom, and that's when I realized, oh my goodness, this album's a lot weirder than I realized, because it was with a lot of people around trying to do their work, and that's when stuff like Exile on Frog Street ended up sounding a lot weirder than usual.
He follows Dakota on Twitter.
Ariel Pink?
Yeah.
Well, I'm a little bit jealous then, because, I don't know. Ariel Pink is a person who's done some questionable things this year, but his music, I think, is spectacular, and this is possibly his best album, in my opinion, or anything that he's related to anyways, because it's his first under his solo name, because before it was under Haunted Graffiti. And yeah, you'll have a lot of weirder moments on Pom Pom. You'll have a lot of stuff that genre hops. You'll have 80s goth sounding stuff, well, with Goth Bomb, punk sounding, new wave, um, just pop in general, stuff from the 80s, stuff from now. Uh, there's a lot going on here. A lot of it sounds like Frank Zappa or Captain Beefheart when it gets really zonky and weird. You'll have like a lot of weird animal noises or just talking. Like in Black Ballerina, you have a weird and kind of perverted interlude where this old man takes, I think it's his grandson, to a strip club, and the grandson ends up groping one of the strippers because he doesn't know what to do there. And that's in the middle of a song that's actually really catchy. So it catches you off guard, and it's really weird. And the album's full of a lot of these moments, not like that skit per se, but just like, well, in Exile on Frog Street, there's a lot of like weird animal noises again. And in other parts, the song will just abruptly change. But either way, it's still a pop album, and it's got so much going on, and it's such a long album. It's over an hour long, but it's just got quality. And even the parts, as I said in the review, that were a bit weird for me at first, I grew to like them. And to me, Pom Pom was a no-brainer for being this high on the list.
Absolutely. Number 2, Caribou, Our Love. So
Yes.
number 2 twice.
Yeah.
This one doesn't rhyme now.
Our lice, I guess. But no, Our Love was a very, very good album. Again, best of the best in terms of pop of this year. And you just experience so many emotions and so many different perspectives on what love is on this album. There's a lot of despair with, again, Can't Do Without You. There's a lot of bonding, of shared experiences, and a lot of it's conveyed without voices or lyrics at all. It's mostly just instruments, or rather, whatever's produced by Caribou, and it's just nice and pleasant. And yeah, a lot of it does tug at your heartstrings a little bit, but most of it's just enjoyable, and it's so well produced that everything pops out at you, much like the cover art. Actually, you can still pick apart what's happening, but it's all one big picture with so much going on. And Caribou can't really do too much wrong, and this album could possibly be his best, in my opinion. And it was something that I instantly loved, and it's something that I knew would place high on this list. And for me, again, it was another no-brainer, as were most of this top 5. In fact, all of this top 5. Well, the rest of the list kind of rotated around a lot. This top 5 was full of albums that I knew were special from the very beginning, including our number 1, which I knew actually was going to be the number 1, and I was right this whole time.
And you told me that.
I told you, and it's not because I stuck to that statement that
nothing was able to displace it.
No, because while I think that the rest of this year had a lot of great albums, this one for me, like, no offense to the other albums, because I think they are excellent and within this year are terrific. This album for me, and within noise music, I think is an instant classic.
This is number 1. This is Swans, To Be Kind.
Yep. And
you got to interact with him a little.
Yes, I got to interview Michael Gira, and I actually, yes, you did actually, and we got to see Swans live and see that incredible performance. Now, To Be Kind, I've been a big fan of Swans for a while now. I loved This Year when it came out, but even that album, I felt I couldn't have it on too often. It's something that I had to savor for once in a while, and so did Soundtracks for the Blind, because they're very ambitious. They're both 2 hours long, and they're To Be Kind's intense, but these albums are a little bit more intense, I would say. Like, Soundtracks for the Blind is a very emotional experience, like a bit too much at times. Like, you've got to really listen to it in the right mood, because otherwise you're just going to be very depressed at times. And The Seer is extremely abrasive. But To Be Kind, which is very similar in formula, is still so very different, because it takes on so many years and generations of music and compiles it into one very noisy experience. That's what it is. To Be Kind is an experience. It's a 2-hour experience, and It observes so many philosophical questions, but it never attacks you like the seer would, or it never guilt trips you like Soundtracks to the Blind would sometimes. To Be Kind is very open minded, but it's still very obvious as to what it's trying to say. Like it's got a lot of philosophical views about society, like what it means to be human and what it means to have human instinctive needs, like to eat, to have intercourse, to want to feel to be loved, to just exist. And To Be Kind basically feels like an overarching question where is there even a morality? And of course, not every song will ask that, but it's almost as if they do because of just the way they all work together and just the sounds in general. Like, what does it mean to be kind to the listener, let's say? Or what does it mean to be too kind to them? Like, should we take them for granted? Should we give them something that'll challenge them? Should we take it away? Should we reward them? That's so much of what the album is. It's a very artful album.
That's a great way to end off the list there. So do you think overall, Andreas, that 2014 was weaker than 2013?
Well, out of the decade so far, I think it is the weakest, I would say, but it
Out of
doesn't
the
mean
whole decade?
so far, yes, but that's not to say that there wasn't
There's
good
only been
stuff here.
4 years of the decade.
Well, so far, I mean,
Yeah.
but there could be worse easily. I mean, we still had a lot of great albums, and again, every song and album that I featured so far, well, not so far because the list is over. Any album and song that I featured, let's say, was worth being there, and were releases that I will still listen to as the years go by. And
You should do like a top 25 album of the century thus far list.
well, funny you should say that. Oh, the century thus far would just be the decade, or
No, the century.
I get it, like from the millennium.
Yeah.
Funny you should say that, though.
No, the century. Yeah.
Something I do plan on doing is a possible anthology of the best songs, albums, films, and performances of all time.
Like since like the caveman days.
Well, no, I don't know any from them, but let's say contemporary, because that's what all time is usually referring to at this point, like contemporary from within the past 100 and so years.
What was the first song that was ever made?
Well, that nobody will ever know.
Or there had to be one that was recorded first.
Well, the first recorded song, didn't Edison record Mary Had a Little Lamb or something?
Oh yeah.
But that wasn't the first song ever made, of course.
No, recorded.
Happy Birthday is a pretty old one.
That's true too. So overall, Andreas, 2014 was okay.
Yeah, but it still had some really excellent stuff. And I suggest checking out everything that I featured on these lists. Even if you're not into a lot of noisy music, I think give it a shot, because if you're ever curious about what noise can be, this year is the year to find out.
That's right. You can find the top 25 songs of 2014 and albums of 2014. The links are in the show notes. And so where can all of our listeners find you, Andreas?
You can find me on Twitter at Andreas Babs, and I apologize for my possible ramblings I've done today, but I've been a little bit excited. I'm also extremely exhausted. I've been insanely busy. Yeah, we've been insanely busy here at Live in Limbo and outside of it, but thank you for listening.
You would think we'd be winding down in December, but we're actually wrapping up a lot of things, so it's pretty busy.
Exactly. Yeah.
And you can find myself on Twitter at Sean Chin. You can follow the show at Live in Limbo and use the hashtag Capsule Podcast to join in on the conversation. Please subscribe to the show on iTunes. And as always, you can find the show notes at liveinlimbo.com/capsule. Take care.
Have a good one.